Welcome to Real Life with Jenny. My name's Jenny Senaparatna. Grab your favorite drink and a snack and we will get started. Today I am going to try an apple pie a la mode tea. Now it's two teas with a specialty sugar kind of all combined and it's supposed to taste like apple pie a la mode. We'll see. I got it at a cute little shop out in Connecticut. And so I'm super excited to try it. And you know what? To be real, I completely forgot a snack. But I did just get done making fresh cranberry sauce. That should count for something, even though I don't eat it, right? A little grace today, just a little grace. Well, let's get real. You know, this month marks an anniversary in our lives with Kevin and I. Not like a real anniversary like marriage or birthdays or anything like that. It is the month that we moved into our trailer. Now, we were 23 years old when we bought this trailer as our temporary stopping point because we were living in an apartment after being in a parsonage, and then we moved into an apartment and we decided to plant a church while we were in that apartment. And we're like, okay, we'll buy a trailer, we'll live there for a year or two, and then we'll figure out where God wants us. In fact, we were pretty disappointed because our trailer is a city away from the city that we were planting a church. But this is where God put us. And we're like, eventually we will buy a house in the city we're planting a church, and that is where we will be. Well, now, 23 years later, here we are still in the trailer, and how blessed we are. We're so grateful to be here because it is a very low cost of living and we just absolutely love our home. So with my mom moving, I don't know if you're personal friends with me on Facebook. My mom, after 45 years living in the home that I grew up there. All my siblings were born there, we needed to move her into a new home. And so we spent weeks packing up her home, putting everything in boxes. We found her a new home that my sister and her are going to live in together. Beautiful place just a little ways away. But it was all about like packing up stuff that I have seen all of my life. Even like the Christmas decorations, I was like, oh, I remember this when I was a little kid. I used to play with it. And yes, that is because I dropped it off of the chair and broke it and then tried to glue it back together. Those moments that you're walking through all of this stuff because my mom is really great at like keeping things that she cherishes. And so there was a lot of stuff. And so we're just going through the house, and because of that, I would come home and feel overwhelmed at the stuff in my house because now I've been here for 23 years. Like, there is one thing when you just move into a home or your first, you don't have a lot of stuff. When we moved in, I was like, how are we ever going to fill this house? Like, we don't have enough. I remember actually we bought some clearance furniture the weekend before we moved in to our new trailer because I had a hot pink, and I'm not kidding, a hot pink couch that was actually still one of my favorite couches we've ever owned. It was donated from someone else. I think their grandmother decided to get rid of the hot pink couch and it became ours. But we bought our first set of furniture. It was a couch and a love seat. And it was so fun. I was like, this is my first furniture, brand new. And to be fair, it was my last furniture I've ever bought, brand new. I've always since then bought new to us furniture from somebody else. So... But I was like, there's no way we're ever going to fill this house. Like, there's just absolutely no way. In fact, one of the rooms we used as a TV room, we never even had a TV in our living room, and we've never had a TV in our bedroom, but we had it in one of the other rooms, and it was our football room because I was a huge football fan, and so it was covered in football memorabilia. And then we had my daughter. And, you can't keep a football room when you have a brand new baby. I mean, maybe you can if you have a big house, but when you are living in a trailer, all of a sudden space became super limited. I was a little like, wow, how did we grow into this house? And how have we, filled this house all of a sudden, 23 years later? So I was actually in the living in the kitchen one night and I was doing dishes, which is kind of a rarity, let's be honest, because my husband does the dishes. The rule is who cooks doesn't clean. That's been the rule because my husband is just that supportive. And so if I cook, I don't do the dishes. And that night, I don't think he was feeling great, so I was doing the dishes, which is not a big deal. And I looked up and I saw this curtain over my kitchen window. And really a very beautiful curtain. It was a lace curtain and it had fruit on it because when I moved into the house, into the trailer, my kitchen theme was strawberries because I loved strawberry shortcake as a kid. Strawberries just kind of brought that playful joy into my life. And so everything had strawberries on it. And so it had like an apple, a pear, and a strawberry on this lace curtain hanging over my kitchen. And I looked at it and I had this flashback of the day I moved into the trailer. And my great friend came and she like helped me set up the kitchen. And in fact, where she put things, I have kept them for the last 23 years. Because she's like, this is where your silverware is going, Jenny. This is where your plates are going to go. And I just never argued because why argue? And she had gone to the store and bought a remnant of this lace fabric. So it's not hemmed on either side. And she's like, here is a temporary lace curtain for your curtain, and then you can figure out what you really want later. So this is just a temporary stop plate that I just wanted the place to feel a little homey. And here I am 23 years later with a remnant of fabric on the curtain rod, and the sides are kind of wonky because it certainly wasn't cut completely straight. And I was like, oh wow. I remember saying, you're right, I love this, but I want it to be temporary. And here it is hanging there for 23 years. And I went, I'm going to do something about this. Like, I don't know why it hit me all of a sudden, after all these years. And so I went on Amazon and I found some curtains for really cheap because that's who I am. Let's just be real. And found some curtains that match kind of my new theme, which I know you're going to be shocked, is black and white. I know you're like, what? I can't believe it. That's shocking. Yeah, because I just love the theme black and white. So they're black and white curtains, and I took down my lace curtains. And why am I telling you this? You're like, Jenny, that's really not an interesting story. And you're right, it's not super interesting. But I actually, every time I've walked by those curtains since then, it's been about a week and a half. In fact, I was like, I kind of want to see if Kevin notices. I didn't do that to him. I told him because I thought then if he doesn't notice, he'll be embarrassed, and that's not very nice. So anyway, I've been walking by those curtains and I keep thinking and being prodded about temporary things in our lives and how sometimes we put things in our lives and things are temporary and we make them permanent. They are meant to be a temporary stop, habits and friendships. And sometimes you go to a job as a temporary stopping point. You have a different goal. Sometimes, really, could I just go on and on? Yes, I could. Because so many times there are things that we're going to do temporarily that we end up being stuck at. And I really felt like God was saying to me, Jenny, what in your life was supposed to be temporary that is now part of your routine, part of who you are, and is kind of defining you. And it's time to let it go because it was really meant to only be a temporary thing in your life. And I was like, wow, really, when you think about it, I have made habits in my life that really were supposed to be temporary, that just became part of, what I'm doing, or things in my home. I know that's really simple, but things in my home that I was like, I will just get this right now and I will replace it when I have the money with something that's better. Like all of my pots and pans. I buy the cheapest one that I could find at Walmart because that's where we were in life. Like we were at that point when you're 23 years old, you don't have a lot of money to spend on pots and pans or on groceries or, anything really. And now when I'm 46, I have a little bit more, not a whole not more, but a little bit more, that I could buy a pot that doesn't rust out on me in 5 or 6 months. I could spend a little bit more money, but I'm still stuck with my temporary, less quality things. And so I feel like in our spiritual lives, sometimes we just set things up as like, let's just get through this season. Let's just like, I'm going to pray in this certain way because this is where I'm at. And then you never really grow beyond that. You just kind of stay there and you're still reading through the Psalms. Not that there's anything wrong with the Psalms. Absolutely love the Psalms. But maybe it's time to branch out beyond that. Maybe it's time to branch out beyond going to just a worship service and getting involved in the church. Like, is there, you're kind of like, I don't know if I should be doing this. Or maybe you got involved in a ministry because they needed the help and you're not fulfilled. And really, it's time to step out of that ministry and step into something that will really fill the gifts that God's given you. There are so many ways that you can really apply this if you take it in. So I just want to make a challenge to you again this week. I try to not challenge you very often, but again this week, I want to challenge you to look around your life and see what was meant to be temporary that you have made permanent. What in your life, whether it is a simple curtain or being involved somewhere or your job or a health choice that you've made when it comes to maybe what you eat or what you drink or what kind of car you have. I don't have any idea what God would speak to you other than what I've just said. But maybe it is time to take that temporary thing, set it aside, and get something that's better for you and a better fit that can be a permanent solution, and stop using the temporary fix and move into the best that you can be. So that's my challenge. Let's do this. Let's see what God will bring to your mind that you just are doing because someone needed you to do it. And you see 10 years later, you're still doing the same thing. Very miserable. It's time to step outside of that. It's time to step into something that you can really be fulfilled and find God's grace and love in it. Well, that's all I have for you this week. You can find me at Real Life with Jenny on Instagram and on Facebook. We have a Real Life with Jenny group and a Real Life with Jenny page. So please join both. The group is private, and that is where we share our hearts and kind of just chat with one another. At least that's my prayer and my goal. And my group, I do pray for you. If you're in the group, I go through and I try to pray for each and every one of you. So please join that and just be part of our community. You can also find me at christconnection.cc/Jen. All of my information is there. I only have, I believe, 8 spots left for 2023 for speaking engagements. So time to get your event on those books because I really want to make sure that if I'm needed, I will be there, but I'm trying to make sure that we also have that balance. So 8 more opportunities left in 2023. Like, share, and rate this podcast. And again, look at your life. Let's do some examining and see what you've made permanent that was really meant to be temporary. Have a great week.